Record. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. My name is Stacy Rivet. I'm with the City of Beaverton in Public Works and Engineering. And tonight we are going to be going through a traffic calming project. It is the Southwest 155th Avenue project between Southwest Cormorant Drive and Southwest Falcon Drive. And this evening we have with us Jabra Kasho, who's the city transportation engineer, and Tony Chow, who's our transportation project engineer. And both of these gentlemen are going to do a great job explaining the traffic calming program and then also talk about this particular project, basically the next steps, what your role is in this project, and just kind of a project overview on the different treatments that we have in traffic calming. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Jabra. I'm going to share my screen first. Oh, a little bit of housekeeping that I did not do. If you have a question, you can type your question in the chat, and then you can also type your question in the Q&A section. And what we'll do is we'll go through this PowerPoint first, and then we'll have a Q&A section at the end. So the PowerPoint, we've got a lot of information tonight, but hopefully it'll be useful and helpful to all of you. And then we can go ahead and open it up for questions. So it's okay to put your questions in as we go if you'd like, but we won't be answering them until the very end, just so that we can make sure that we get all the information going and we have a good flow. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Stacy, can you hear me?
Yes, Tony.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Okay, Jabra and Tony, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, great. Oops. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Jabra. Jabra is, again, the city traffic engineer, and he's going to talk to you a little bit tonight about the traffic calming program, your role in the project, and then the next steps. Go ahead, Jabra.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jabra Kasho. I'm the city transportation engineer. This portion of the meeting, I'm going to go just over the traffic calming program in the city and the process we go through and how we proceed with this project. The traffic calming program, the objective of the traffic calming program is to reduce speeds, to reduce cut-through traffic. And by doing this, we increase safety, and it will promote bicycling, walking, and also the use of transit, because you could walk safely to the bus stops. The program actually, it's a three-phased program. Phase one of the program is a written request. So I don't know, don't know the name of the person who sent the written request for 155th. Tony might know, but we received this written request that there is speeding on 155th and you would like to start a traffic calming program. So the first thing we do is education and enforcement. So we let the police know about it. The police will do enforcement, and sometimes they deploy the speed trailer, which tells you what your speed is. And we let it run for a while. Sometimes these things help because most of the speeders, they actually live in the neighborhood and they're not aware of how fast they're going. After we wait a while, then we'll do a speed study on the street. We measure the speeds, and to qualify for the program, the measured 85th percentile speed, which is 85% of the drivers drive at or below this speed, must be at least 5 miles over the posted speed limit. And when Tony does his part of the presentation, he will tell you what the speeds were on the street. So that's how the street was eligible for the traffic calming program. And we receive requests from all over the city. And we do studies for the requests that we get. And after we do this, and we know the street is eligible, we send a petition to the requester, and typically they used to go door to door and get signatures. And 51% of those people who live on the street must say, yes, we want to start a program. Now with the COVID-19 and the atmosphere we're in, this petition, the city did the petition. Basically, we sent cards out and we said, yeah, you want to start a program on your street or not? And we received 51%, actually over 51% from people who live on 155th that they want to start a program. After we got these petitions, and we get many petitions, then what we do, we rank each project. And we have a ranking criteria that it depends how high the speeds are there cross sidewalks or not, is it close to a school? So you get points, and that scoring criteria is in the program, and we will have a link to that, to the program itself. So we ranked all the projects we received, and 155th was ranked the highest on the list. So we take this ranking list, and the commission will held a public hearing on it. And based on the funding we have, the commission will decide, it typically will do 2 or 3 projects from the top. And that's why we're now with 155th Avenue. It ranked number 1, and there is funding to do it. So we will go through with the plan. Now, during this meeting and the coming meetings, we'll talk about what kind of treatments we can have on the street. And we will work with the neighborhood on what type of treatments they would like to see on the street. And we will also later on during this meeting, we'll explain the advantages and disadvantages of each device we use on the street. So we work with the neighborhood, and sometimes we come up with more than 1 plan, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, depending on the opinion during the meeting. But at the end, we have to decide on a plan, and sometimes we try to merge different plans together to find that happy medium that everyone will agree on, or at least try to agree on. The minute we agree on a plan, then the city will poll the plan. And the plan must receive 67% approval rate from people who live on the street. And we go 250 feet on the side streets too. So if there are residents or businesses on the side streets, they will be included, but they need to be within 250 feet from the street that the traffic calming devices are put on. So let's say we send out 100 cards. We must receive 67 cards with a yes. On the card itself, you have the option to say yes, no, or you could abstain too. If you abstain, then that number will come out of the total number. But any card that we don't receive back is an automatic no. Because that's how the program is written. And it's really tough. I'm saying it loud and clear. It is tough to get that 67%. So during the developing of the plan, if you see something you don't like, please bring it up and speak up, because we want to know, you're with or against the plan. We need some input from the residents, so we'll have a good plan at the end. Let's say the plan will receive the 67%, then we'll take the plan for a public hearing before the traffic commission. And anybody from anywhere can come testify for or against the plan at that meeting. Most of the time, if you got the 67%, the traffic commission will approve it and will go to the construction phase. Also, the program talks about removing traffic calming devices. Sometimes, 4, 5, 6 years later, there will be a turnover with home ownership. And sometimes people don't like those devices. They want them out. So if somebody object later on and they want the traffic calming devices out, they also need to get 67% approval from the neighborhood to take it out. It's the same process, but to reverse it. So that's why it's important when we choose these devices, the neighborhood needs to agree that that's what they want, because we hate to build something and then later on we want to take it out. I've been doing this for 23 years now, and during the 23 years I'm aware of 3 attempts from 3 different neighborhoods that they try to take some of the traffic calming devices out, and none of them were successful. So my belief is that if they go in, it's really hard to take them out. And if you have any questions about the program, please put it in the Q&A, and we will answer any questions you have later on. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jabra. And now we will have Tony Chow, and he will kind of go through this program or this project.
All right, next slide, please. So this is the project area for 155th Avenue from Commonwealth Drive to Falcon Drive. So as you can see, this is if you receive a petition and you see on the map that you're in the project area shaded in black, you will be included in the project and you have a vote at the end of the process. So the process will be a series of neighborhood meetings, just like Jabbar mentioned, and each month will be the first day of the month. So the next one will be May 6th will be the next date for the next meeting, and then we'll go through a series of neighborhood meetings, and at the end of the neighborhood meetings, we'll have an open house, which will hopefully we'll have a traffic calming plan to vote on. Next slide, please. So here's the objective of traffic calming, of traffic calming, and also this PowerPoint. We'll define what's traffic calming, what is the reasons for traffic calming, the common traffic calming techniques, and the advantages and disadvantages of each option. Next slide. So what is traffic calming? Bullet point, please. It's a change to a street to reduce speed and car dominance. It's a traffic control device designed and located to keep through traffic on arterials. And then it seeks to control the behavior of drivers using our neighborhood streets. Okay, next slide. And what are the reasons for traffic calming? Reduce vehicle speed, reduce the number of vehicle trips and cut-through traffic. And then next slide. Safety, and also encourage biking, walking, and transit. And then also trying to improve the street environment. Okay, next slide. So common traffic calming techniques include the following: gateway treatment, road striping, roundabouts or traffic circles, lane narrowing, speed humps, speed cushions, curb extension, and our newest option, which is speed display sign. So we'll go for each of the options slowly, and then hopefully you have a feel what options you like and what options you do not like. Okay, next slide. So first option is gateway treatment. As you can see in this picture, you see a median with landscaping. You see crosswalk and pedestrian-friendly features, and then you also see that the differentiated pavement to let drivers know that there's pedestrians that could be potentially using the sidewalk, and also cyclists. And then you can also see the sidewalks on the side of the road. In this one, you also see a median. You see sidewalks, the curb features, the curb ramp features, and this is at a signalized location. Next slide. And this is the third one where you can see a speed cushion, speed hump mixed with a median, landscaping signs, landscaping in the middle of the median, plus the center line striping, and then sidewalks on both sides. Next slide. So here's the advantages of gateway treatment. It identifies a changing environment from arterial to residential street, reduce entry speed, reduce pedestrian crossing distance to make it safer pedestrians. It can also provide landscaping and also provide make the street looks a lot better and give it a sense of identity. Next slide. So disadvantages. So the first disadvantage includes maintenance responsibility, high construction costs. So this is a high construction cost. So this is the first option. So just think about how you like the option, how you just don't like the option. Next slide. So the second one is road striping. As you can see, there's a center line striping and a differentiated pavement to show that that you need to slow down and you need to watch for cyclists, pedestrians, and you need to use the neighborhood roadway as it is designed. Next slide. So this is the second one where you see the center line, the bike lane, and the landscaping trying to encourage motorists to slow down a little bit and not go as fast. Next slide.
And Tony, I wanted to let you know, just in case you didn't know, that we cannot see you on your camera is not on. So if you can turn it on, that would be good.
All right. Okay. Can you see me now, or?
Yes, we can see you now.
Okay.
Good
All right.
job.
So okay. All right. So this is a road strapping option. Okay. Next slide. So here's the advantages of the road striping. So the first one includes it's really cheap. It may reduce speed. You can also include the safety of cyclists and pedestrian because of the bike lane and sidewalk features. And it's also low maintenance. But then with each advantages, there's also disadvantages. So next slide. So the first one includes, it may not be as effective as like physical measure or something that you can see on the road or something that you can feel on the road. So and this is our third option, traffic circles. So this third option, you can see a roundabout with the yield signs, the taper approach, the landscaping in the middle of the traffic circle or roundabout, and then also the sidewalk and pedestrian features on the side. Next slide. This is a second one. This is at Teal and 155th. As you can see, you also have the landscaping and the taper approach. You also have the pedestrian and sidewalk feature, but you notice this one has a stop sign. Roundabouts and traffic circle are typically controlled by a yield sign. This one is unusual because of a special request that was approved by Traffic Commission. So if you do have a roundabout or traffic circle in the future installed on Commonwealth or Falcon, you will see a yield sign. Next slide. This is one near estuary that's really special. This is more like what you call a traffic circle. It's really small, and you still have the landscaping in the middle and the center line, but you don't have the taper median approach. But you still have the landscaping and the pedestrian-friendly features. Next slide. And this is the same one in the same neighborhood in estuary. You have a traffic circle. You have a really a small island with a median and landscape in the middle, along with the pedestrian features, the stop bars, and then you also have the feature. Bicyclists do not have any issue going through because you can go through the sides. And also, this is unusual also because the stop sign. A typical roundabout once again has a yield sign and not stop signs. Next slide. . 。 . 。 .
. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。. 。.
. .
。 .
So here's the advantages of roundabout. The first one includes it reduces crashes significantly compared to other types of traffic controls. Reduce speed at the intersection approach because of the tapered median approach, and cars have to yield to anybody inside the roundabout or traffic circles, including cyclists or pedestrians potentially. So anybody that is in the roundabout will have the right of way over a vehicle that's approaching the roundabout. And then next bullet point, longer speed reduction, like it makes it slower to get into the roundabout. And then you can also put landscaping in the middle, making the neighborhood a lot more attractive, a lot more like appealing to all users. Next slide. And it's cheaper to maintain than traffic signals and other measures. It provides equal access to all users, and including drivers. Good environment for cyclists because cyclists feels a lot safer with roundabouts because they know that they also have right of way and that cars will be looking for them. And it makes it more difficult, but it does not restrict the movement. So any current vehicles using that roadway can still use it in the future. And it's really effective at multi-leg intersections. So with advantages, there's also disadvantages. It may be tougher for large vehicles to go through, so we have to design it properly for like larger vehicles like a UPS truck, fire trucks, or ambulance to go through. So we have to take that into account. It requires additional signing and also lighting. And also may require additional right-of-way. And it may also initial safety issue because drivers have to adjust to it because they may not know that there's a roundabout, or they may not understand there's a roundabout coming, so they will see something different and they may be shocked by it initially. And also maintenance responsibility. Okay, next slide. And then also higher construction costs. So this is a fourth option, lane narrowing. As you can see, there's a curb extension, something that sticks out on the side. You will see the landscaping island, the stop bar, and also the pedestrian-friendly features, the sidewalk and the curb ramps. Next slide. This is one where it combines a median with the bike lane and also the pedestrian-friendly features at the intersection. And you can also put landscaping in the middle of the median. And this is one where there's no landscaping, but it's more of a concrete island. But there's also an area for pedestrians to potentially wait in the middle if they wish to cross. But this does not have landscaping. Next slide. This is one with a median and also with landscaping. And then also you can see it's a combination with speed humps, which is upcoming once you pass this location. And also have the stop bars and the pedestrian-friendly features. So here's the advantages. The first one is it's minor inconvenience to drivers and local traffic. It's good for pedestrians if you put the pedestrian-friendly features in the middle to cross and make it safe for them to cross. You can put landscaping. And it also slows traffic without affecting the emergency response. And it's really effective when used in a series with either more medians, curb extensions, or speed humps or cushions. So here's the disadvantages. It's only partially effective as a visual obstruction, unfriendly to cyclists unless it's designed to accommodate them. And it can also create conflict if you put the curb extension on the sides. Sometimes the road becomes more narrow, so sometimes bigger vehicles may have to look out for each other. And it also may require parking restriction. So you may lose parking on the sides where the median exists or where the curb extension exists. So this is a fifth option, which is speed humps. As you can see, there's the pavement differentiation, the bike lanes, center lane, And then also the pedestrian feature where pedestrian can walk on top of the speed hump. So it kind of functions as a crosswalk. Next slide. Yep. And then this one is in combination of median, where you have the speed hump, you have the pedestrian-friendly feature, and pedestrian treats the speed hump like a raised crosswalk, and they can walk on top of it to cross the road. And there's also landscaping in the middle. Next slide. So this is one without the pedestrian-friendly feature. It's only one continuous speed hump across the road. And you also have the you can also see how it fits between the driveways perfectly. Next slide. This is one more picture of the similar location. Next slide. This is one with a speed cushion on Thatcher that we recently installed. And you can see how the emergency vehicle can go through, or something bigger like a fire truck can go through the sides, but a smaller vehicle like a regular vehicle cannot go through it in the middle. Next slide. And this is one where, in combination with a concrete separator, where you have the two speed cushion on the side, the striping, and then the concrete island separates the speed cushions. Next slide. So here are the advantages. The first one is reduced vehicle speed, and it's usually used at 300 to 500 feet spacing. And it's really self-enforcing. So people have to go slow down because otherwise the vehicle, like the way they're traveling, will be seriously affected, and it can damage the vehicle if they don't slow down. It's really relatively cheap. And the disadvantages. It can be noisy if there's vehicles going through that's bigger. Drivers may try to avoid it if it's not properly designed. And then also may be a problem with emergency vehicle if it's not properly designed. So when we do design it, we have to account for all drivers, larger vehicles, and also emergency vehicles to make sure they can still use the road safely and effectively. And also maybe impact drainage if we don't design it properly. And then also drivers may speed up if it's too far between the speed humps. Next slide. It may increase traffic volumes on other streets if it's not properly designed. And it requires signage that may be considered unpleasant. So this is another option that we have is curb extension. So you can see the bulb out on the side near the sidewalk. You have the stuff that sticks out on the side, along with the crosswalk and the curb ramps. And then you can also put landscaping on the bulb outs, the stuff that just sticks out on the side of the road. Next slide. So this is one of center lane striping, and the same thing. This is a physical bulb out, or physical something that sticks out, and it's concrete and designed for pedestrian to be able to wait at the end corners, then cross the road safely. Next slide. So this is a similar location where you have the bulb out feature for the pedestrian to wait at the corner, then cross the road, and the vehicles have to slow down to make the turns. And also there's a speed hump that you can see that's right past the intersection. So here's the advantages of curb extensions. It can really be really pleasant and pleasing looking if it's landscape. It's good for pedestrians because it's safer and shorter for them to cross. And it can be used in combination with a speed hump, a gateway treatment, or other type of traffic calming device. And here's the disadvantages. It could be unfriendly to cyclists if we don't keep them in mind. So when we design it, we have to make sure we think about them. Landscaping can also create sight distance issues. So if you put a big tree or put a big bush, it may affect the sight distance. So that's something we have to take into account. And it also increased maintenance. And then also higher construction costs. So this is our last one, which is fairly new. This is on Sexton Mountain Drive. This is a solar panel speed display sign. And as you can see, the speed limit will flash if you go past the speed limit. And it also has a sign to remind people what's the speed limit of the roadway. And you can see there's a center lane striping along with the bike lane and sidewalks on both sides. Next slide. So here's the advantages. It reduces vehicle speed because and then doesn't increase crashes. So people usually see the sign, and when the speed sign flashes, people usually slow down. It's low maintenance, but there's also disadvantages. It's higher construction costs because you have to install the wiring and the power necessary to put the speed display sign in, and also the right of way that you might need. And it's also not effective as physical measure because drivers they usually see the sign, but they may choose not to slow down because it's not something that's physical or something that makes them more careful. They may ignore it if they don't choose not to look at it. And this is a speed hump sign, and this is what it typically looks like. And the next slide. And you can see how a fire truck can go through the speed cushion with no issues. Okay, next slide. And then now we open up to questions and anything that you have at this time, any comments, anything that you want to bring up, please bring up at this time, and we'll be glad to help you out and answer them.
Okay, thank you so much, Tony and Jabra. That was a lot of information. And so again, I want to thank everybody this evening for participating in the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and we do have quite a few questions. So we're going to go through them one by one here. Some of them will be comments. Jabra, did you want to say something?
Yeah. But before we move forward, I would like Tony to mention what the measured speeds were on 155th.
So the measured speed on 155th the speed limit was 25, but on average we got speed limit. We got the 85 percentile speed, was around 32 to 35 on average, depending on the time of the day and the day of the week. So it's about 6 to 10 miles above the speed limit currently. The 85th percentile speed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One thing that I want to add is that there are a lot of comments in the chat, and so I know I've been trying to read through these, and so I know that our panelists are reading through them as well. Tony, can you go ahead and turn your camera on for us, please? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go through these questions one by one. If you would like to speak, instead of typing your question, then you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. So let's see, the first question comes to us, getting my question in early. How is the decision made as to which calming method to use, and do the residents in the affected area have any input?
Yes, the residents will have input on this. Oh, sorry, Jabra. Go ahead, Jabra.
Go ahead.
Yes, the residents will have input throughout this whole process, and they can reach out by email during this meeting, and also by phone, and also reach out to whenever they feel like to bring up their inputs. And then we'll have a series of neighborhood meeting and open houses to talk about the meeting, to talk about this meeting, talk about the plan, and talk about the options for traffic calming on 155th Avenue.
Next question, please confirm at what stage this project currently is. Have the cards been sent to neighbors for approval?
It has not. This is the first of a series of neighborhood meetings, and then we'll have an open house at the end of the neighborhood meetings. Then after the open house, when we select a plan, then that's when you will receive a ballot to go on the plan.
Yeah, we are on phase 3, which is project development, and developing a plan, working with the neighborhood through these meetings, and that's where we pick the devices and to come up with a plan.
Okay. Next question. My address is 15940 Cormorant. One house above 15920 is not included in the map. Does that mean we are not considered part of this project?
If you are 250 feet from 155th Avenue, then you'll be included in the voting part of the plan. And you could participate with these meetings and suggest what options you would like to have. Stacy, could you show the plan? Could you share that page?
Yes,
presentation?
actually, I was just, yep. I know this is kind of a hard map to see, but
Yeah, Falcon and Cormorant. I think this line is at 250.
Yes, we did set it at 250. So if you're on Cormorant, and then if you're one house above, just feel free to probably best to send us an email, because then we can work with you to try to include you if we can in the project.
okay. Next question. We desperately need traffic mitigation and calming. We tried to get traffic calming 6 years ago, and the city traffic engineer discouraged our efforts. How did this project finally get initiated this time?
In the past, when we did speed studies, when we received your requests, the speeds were, the 85th percentile speed was never 5 miles or over the posted speed limit. It seems recently the speeds increased further and it went over 5 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. So that's why the project now qualified, and before it did not.
Okay. Next question. Our neighborhood needs traffic calming on the length of Teal Boulevard, 155th Avenue and 160th Avenue. We know you've measured the traffic on all of those streets. You have the data. Why are you just considering this small stretch of 155th?
First, the request was for 155th. That's where the request we received. Teal Boulevard is posted 35 miles per hour, and streets that are posted 35 miles per hour and there are 3 lanes, they don't qualify for the program. If you would like to consider traffic calming on Teal Boulevard is out of questions because of the speed on it, the posted speed. But if you would like to consider a traffic calming program on the next street, which was it? 155th, Teal, and what was the third one?
It's 155th and 160th.
160th.
And Teal.
Yeah, you could submit a request to have a traffic calming program on 160th, and we will evaluate it the minute we receive the request. So you have to go through the whole process.
Next question. Have we tried a photo camera to catch speeders? If not, can we try that? I know not necessarily, I know it's not necessarily a permanent solution, but it may help change the behaviors.
The deployment of the photo radar van, it's not as simple as we think, that we could deploy it to any area we like. Typically, the photo radar van, there are certain locations that city council, they look at certain locations and city council approve them to do the enforcement. Because sometimes people think deploying the photo radar it's a speed trap and it's for income only, for revenue. That's why they have to do these things. But what we can do, we could do traditional enforcement, which is a police car or a police motorcycle. We also, I believe the police deployed the smart trailer, which is, or the speed display trailer, which tells the driver what their speeds are. If you would like to see additional enforcement, we could ask for it. But we tried the speed trailer, and it seems it did not solve the problem because we did the speed studies afterwards. And that's how the street qualified for the program. So we're past that point, but if you would like additional enforcement in the meantime, we could request enforcement on 155th.
Okay, thank you, Jabra. How quickly can we get speed humps installed?
So after the series of neighborhood meetings and the open house, it probably take up to 3 to 4 months. So then after the 3 to 4 month series of meetings, then the plan will be up to a vote. So the soonest you could see something installed, if the whole process goes smoothly, will be sometime in the fall. Like October, November range. That's probably the soonest, assuming the project gets approved and everything goes smoothly.
I mean, the maximum, you know, until we get to the fall, winter, it's really hard to do any asphalt work. If it's speed humps, typically they're made out of asphalt, and it gets cold, and we will not have a good product. So if we are kind of past mid-September, early October, that's the deadline probably to do construction for asphalt. If we have islands or curb extensions or other things that use concrete, we could work on these during the winter. So it depends how fast we develop the plan and how fast we go through the voting process. If we could do it by the end of July, early August, potentially we could do it in September, early October. But if we're a little late and we get cold weather, then we have to wait till next spring.
Next question. I am next door to Brian and can see the road from my den. We'd like to be included as well.
Yes, if you're within that 250 feet from, if you live on the side street, then you will be included. If not, I mean, if the neighborhood feels they want to expand the voting area, you can, but it makes it really more difficult to get that 67%. I don't encourage increasing the voting area beyond what the program requires.
Okay, next question. As someone previously mentioned with his close calls, can we scope having a hump that is on the existing roundabout as drivers approach Falcon Drive or Court? Drivers don't stop at stop signs and build speed onto 155th.
So the project limit is, okay.
Go ahead, Tony.
So the project limit is from Commonwealth to Falcon. So I believe you're talking about the existing roundabout at Teal. So that is not in the project area, but we could consider something else in the future at that location, separate from this project.
And speed humps, we don't install them at stop signs because drivers need to stop. The closest to a stop sign, the speed hump could be 300 feet away from that stop sign on 155th. The key to solve this problem is enforcement. I mean, the reason people run the stop signs because it's unwarranted. Unfortunately, this roundabout at one time was a yield control, but the neighborhood complained about people not yielding or going in the roundabout too fast. So, 20 years ago, the Traffic Commission reviewed this request and they approved stop signs on it. That's why it's violated. Because it's not traditional to have a roundabout, big, huge roundabout with stop control. It's always yield control. But to alleviate this problem, we will request to increase enforcement by the Beaverton police. That's the best solution for this problem.
Okay, next question. Agree with traffic calming on Southwest 160th. This is a raceway with far higher speeds than the limit. So it's more of a comment. Okay, next question. Is there any way to speed up the process by having quicker meetings?
I wish there is a way to do it. You know, it takes time to prepare the mailers and send them out. And also we have other things we're working on. So we found that a month between meetings, it gives even some time for the residents to think about what they want. And we'll try to speed it as much as we can. We'd like to go quick, but also we want you to be happy of what you propose on the street, because you have to live with it.
And the last question that I have, or actually it's more of a comment here, and then please, and then there's just, if there's more questions or suggestions or things, please type that in the Q&A and or the chat. Everybody can read the chat all at once here. So the one comment is, if you are not included in the boundary, you can still come to the meetings. Instead of getting to vote, just encourage another house within the boundary to vote that wouldn't have. That's a good comment and suggestion. Yes. Next question. You mentioned that the closest to a stop sign that you can put a speed hump is 300 feet. That means people coming off Teal will still speed past Falcon Drive and Falcon Court cross streets, which is where a lot of problems are. There has been one wreck and multiple close calls. Can you not put humps at that dangerous intersection because it's too close to a stop sign?
I have. Go ahead, Tony.
I'm sorry, you're saying, Jabra?
I think we need to know what the distance is before, you know, we're guessing now how far Falcon is. Yeah, during the design of the plan, we will take a look and to see what we can do.
Yeah, I have logged in with the same comment.
What was that, Tony?
I was going to say the same thing that Jabra said, so.
Okay, next question. During the summer months, can we get police enforcement since it looks like nothing will be implemented until fall at the earliest?
Yes, definitely. We can definitely work with police, BPD, police on enforcement in the meantime. We can definitely do so.
Does every speed bump have to have signs next to it? Or could we just have the one sign that says speed bumps the next 3/4 mile when they start? Maybe right off of the roundabout.
So Stacy, can you go back to the picture of the speed cushion or the speed hump? Can you go back to like one of the pictures on the PowerPoint? So, okay, this is a good picture. As you can see on the speed hump itself, there's no physical signage other than the median sign. So on the side, you will not see a physical, like something pointing to the speed hump. Next slide. So same thing here, you don't see a physical signage next to the speed hump itself. And then can we go to the slide with the speed hump signage slide? Almost the last slide.
Which slide is it, Tony?
The third to last slide.
Third to the last slide of the deck?
Off the deck, yes. Yep, on this slide. As you can see, as the resident mentioned, there'll be a sign telling you the speed humps ahead, but there'll be only one physical sign. Then there'll be a series of speed humps. Then you have the sign on the other side for drivers coming from the other direction. So there will only be like at the very minimum is 2, and most likely we'll only have 2 signs that will tell people that there'll be speed humps in that stretch if that's the option that you guys select.
Yeah, in the past, prior to 2003, the manual uniform traffic control devices did not have a specific sign for speed humps. They used to use the bump sign, and they used to have a sign at every speed hump with arrows down. Then in 2003, the manual changed and they came up with this sign, and they said you put these signs at the entry point, and sometimes you put them in between. If the project is too long, we'll put some in the middle to remind driver of it. But most of the time, if you put one at each end, I believe 155th probably will have one at each end for each direction of traffic, and it should work.
Okay. Next question. I think many of these options are not really viable given the established housing, size of the street, and access for large vehicles. Speed humps and speed cushions seem to be the best alternative. If one can't be added east of Falcon, one immediately west of Falcon should be of a benefit.
Yeah, we'll consider that. Thank you. Yeah, we'll consider that option. And then in the next meeting, we'll go location by location between Commonwealth and Falcon. And then we'll nail down each option. We'll nail down each location to see what's the best option for each to try to get the project approved.
Yeah, typically what we do, will divide the street into 300-foot sections, and that's how we start. And then each section will say, okay, we'll propose whatever we can fit at that location. You know, it could be an island, it could be a speed hump, it could be a speed display sign, whatever it is. And then people who attend the meetings, you know, will say how many would like to have this, and you know, we'll take a count of hands, and we'll go from there. So that's how we pick the devices. But we'd like them to be spaced 300, 350 feet max. The minute you increase it to 400, you start losing the effectiveness of the device.
Got another comment or / question. Have studies been done after calming efforts were done on Sexton Mountain Drive? I have heard the street narrowing has not helped.
We have not done a study, but we can definitely do a study to see what's the after effects.
Okay, next question. I have seen in other parts of the country where there is a sign restricting drive-through traffic. Can this be an option here? And if not, why not?
A sign restricting cut-through traffic? Or
sign restricting, yeah, drive-through. Yeah, so cut-through traffic. Yes.
Yeah, you could put all the signs you think of, but people will drive through the street regardless. The reason why it's hard to enforce. How would you know if that person live in the neighborhood or around the neighborhood and he's cutting through? Also, they're not effective. It's just it is a feel-good sign more than anything else.
Yeah, somebody also mentioned, I should say, a sign saying local traffic only to prevent people from cutting through our neighborhood. This would help with the teal issues and 160th issues without the problems of the speed humps.
Like I mentioned about the sign, you know, they're not effective. The other thing, Teal Boulevard is a collector street. So it's designed and it's classified as a collector. So it will bring traffic from the whole neighborhood, basically to take it to Murray Boulevard or Schultz Ferry Road. That's why it's designed this way. And you notice there is no access to it. I mean, there aren't any homes facing the street. So it's designed to function this way.
One other question that came in was, do we even have enough street width to add a median?
That's something we will have to take into account when we do the design. So at the next meeting, if you guys do interest in traffic median, that's something we're to study location by location, 300 feet segments. We'll give you the detail of each location and what's possible and what's not possible at each location at the next meeting.
Another comment was personally that they like the idea of some kind of curb extensions if they could be designed bicyclist friendly with speed humps for all of the crosswalks.
Okay.
Another comment was gate the community for Weir from Weir.
Yeah. Gated community option is not an option. In Beaverton, there is the old code used to allow, and I think there is one in Beaverton that's gated community, but it's not allowed in the development code. So we cannot do gated community now.
Next question, what about raised crosswalks in place of speed humps?
So a speed hump can also be a raised crosswalk if it's designed that way. So it could be a design that combines the two together. I'll do it separately, depending on what the residents want. We can either put it separate or put it like into a raised crosswalk, raised table kind of pedestrian-friendly feature.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a raised crosswalk using a speed hump, but you could only have one at the intersection, you know, on one side, and not the other side.
Next question. The distance between Cormorant and Falcon is only about 750 feet. What is the distance between speed humps or speed cushions?
Distance is, like I said, we could do it 300 feet.
300 feet.
If we need to fit two, we'll try to, you know, move everything around, and then we'll come up with some good way to space them correctly. The reason why, sometimes if you have them too close to each other and then you have an opening, you frustrate drivers, and the minute they hit that opening, then they start speeding again. So that's why they found 350 feet. It's kind of very effective, and the compliance is really well.
Okay. Next question. Sweet, thank you so much. Oh, more of a comment. Sweet, thank you so much. When can we expect the next communication on this project? And will we get something by mail?
Yes, in about 2 weeks, you receive a flyer for the next meeting. The next meeting was, like we mentioned, is May 6th, the first Thursday of May, and it'll be the same time, 6 p.m. And at that meeting, we'll go location by location through traffic calming options and see what's possible at each location. And in the meantime, you can also email myself, Jabra, or just email us at the City Traffic Calming website and provide any feedback you like.
And I'll put both of the, or actually, Tony and Jabra, if you can go ahead and type in your email address to all the panelists on the chat for right now, that would be great. Next question. Why is the area being considered only between Falcon and Cormorant versus Roundabout and 155th to 155th and 160th? And I can say that one again if you need me to.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah. Why is the area being considered only between Falcon and Cormorant versus the roundabout and 155th to 155th and 160th?
Because that's what the request that we received, they only requested this section of 155th. I mean, if we're working on the same street, and it's continuous without any big changes, like a roundabout jump to the other side, we will not jump, but we could extend it if we need to extend the street further than the limits that we are on now.
And that's one of the questions that just popped up. Can that be expanded?
Yes, it can on that same section, you know, because 155th past the roundabout, it's a little different than this side, and it's divided by the roundabout. And don't forget, you have to include all the residents. Wherever you increase that length, you have to add more people to vote on the plan. And the more you expand it, it gets a little bit harder, you know. But we're not saying we're just limited to from here to what we just described. We could expand a little bit on both ends, unless there is a big change.
We had a comment that came in. Okay, great, let's expand it. It's pretty much the same boundary too. And then we have another comment that came in. The 250-foot limit for participation in this process seems arbitrary, excluding numerous affected Oriel Circle homeowners. The intersection with 155th doesn't get any safer for turns just because we have slightly more than 250 feet from the intersection.
Go ahead, Tony.
So that's something that we based on traffic calming program, 250 feet on a side street. So if you feel like you want to be included or feel like there's a need to be included, just email myself or Jabra, and then we'll work with you to see like if it's possible or if it's something that's for the project like reasonable.
Yeah, and what they're saying is it's like a 1 block expansion on either side. And then you just answered the question, like, how can we be added to the vote? Do we contact your office? Are there many of us? There are many of us that are affected that live outside of your range. So as Tony did state, go ahead and email Tony, and then we can move forward. Can we amend the request? Can we do it from the circle to 160th?
The same thing, just email us and then we can work with you to see, like, we can work with you on that. And then we can, once we work with you, then we can also discuss it at the next meeting.
We can expand it, but also we have to keep in mind we have a budget we're working with. It all depends on the devices, but we could expand it and potentially we could phase the project, you know, we'll construct certain portions of it if the cost will go high. But if the majority of the devices are speed humps or speed cushions, those are not that bad. Typically, city will do the construction of those, so we save some money by doing it ourselves. But if you'll send us an email how far you would like to expand it, we'll take a look, and at the next meeting, and we'll reply to you to say, hey, yeah, we can or we cannot. But we will do our best to expand the project.
Yes, and then also there's just a couple of comments here. After the drivers have been forced to slow down on a longer stretch of 155th, they really floor it up to 160th. And Mr. John Vogler wants Tony to please include him. So actually, Tony, can you see that Q&A? Can you open that? Yes, I can. Okay, if you can go ahead and copy and paste Mr. John Vogler's information, email address, go ahead and add him to the list.
All right, jgvogler@frontier.com. Got it, sir. We'll do that.
And then just to be clear, there are no homes on 155th in the program area or in the project area. All of us are on the side streets.
Yeah, there's no curb. Oh.
But there are homes that backing to the street. So those are considered, you know, homes along the street, and they will get to vote.
Are there any other questions, comments, or suggestions that anybody would like to put in the Q&A? I know I didn't get to read everything that was in the chat, but I think that there was a lot of good conversation that was going on here, even between folks that are participating. So that's really helpful. I know in the very beginning, I was reading a lot of these as they were coming in. just about, how long you've lived in the area and, how you've seen the speed change or the speeding kind of increase in the area and so on. So. I just want to make sure everybody knows that we really appreciate your time this evening and thank you so much for attending. Looks like we had just about 30 people attending this evening, which is a great turnout. So we appreciate your time and your attention in this matter. We know it was a long PowerPoint, but we wanted to make sure to go through each and every single traffic calming option that there is and kind of explain that. This PowerPoint is also available under beavertonoregon.gov/traffic calming. So you can find the location map and then you can also find the PowerPoint slide deck there. And then this recorded meeting will also be up on that site soon. And Michelle says, thank you very much. We appreciate your help with all of this. And great job, thanks. Okay, maybe we'll just wait a couple more minutes in case there are, or another minute in case there are any other questions or comments that come in. Lots of thank yous. I really appreciate it. And we hope everybody has a great evening. And as Tony said, in a couple of weeks, we will have another meeting. The next meeting is, Tony, did you say it's May 6th?
May 6th, yes. Thursday at 6 p.m. the same time as this meeting.
Okay. We answered 31 questions this evening, so that's pretty good. Good job, Jabra and Tony. Did a great job tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I think we'll go ahead and close the session or close the presentation. So again, thank you so much. And you have Tony's email address. Please email him and then he will get back with you and we will see you in a few weeks.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Stay safe out there and then get your vaccines if you can.
Thank you.